Right, the next item that I have on the agenda is to begin to think about working towards the goals that you set at the beginning of therapy. And do you remember we talked about facing the things you fear in small steps?
Yes.
So that's what I would like to begin to do. And we tend to call that graded exposure. It's in small steps, so it's graded, and exposure, you're actually facing something and exposing yourself to the thing that makes you anxious.
Okay.
But I think before we do that, a helpful thing is to think about some of the principles behind it. I think it helps it make it easier to do it. So I'll just pull out this, I've got an anxiety chart here. And this will help us to think about your situation and how graded exposure might work for you. So if you would think back to the last time you went shopping in the supermarket, and you were with your partner, weren't you? So can you think about when you went into the supermarket where your anxiety was on this scale? It's a 0 meaning no anxiety and 100 a great deal of anxiety. That's the time. So when you first went in, where was your anxiety?
It's probably about there.
About there?
Yeah.
Okay, it's about 10 probably. Okay, what happened then?
It goes right up, it goes nearly to the top.
Right, so up here to 90, above 90?
Yes, 90.
And your anxiety's right up there. And then what happened?
Then I want to leave, I go out.
Okay, so the last time you were with your partner then, you went out?
Yes.
Right, and what happened to your anxiety then?
Once I'm outside, it drops.
Okay, and it drops right down to here. Okay. What do you think would happen if you did that again, went back in, say, tomorrow? What do you think?
The same thing would happen. It starts low and then it zooms up to 90.
Okay, so every time it starts off low, goes right up, and then every time you leave?
I do.
Yeah, okay, and it comes down. And that would keep repeating itself. And the anxiety never gets any lower?
No, it doesn't.
So it's low when you first arrive, it's high, and then when you leave it goes low again. Yeah, and it's a kind of a repeating pattern like that, with the anxiety staying the same, staying at the same high level. Okay. What do you think would happen if one of the times you went in, you actually stayed in the situation and didn't leave? What would happen to your anxiety then?
It would keep going up, I'm sure it would.
Right, so you have a feeling it would keep on going up. And in fact it may go up a little bit more, but what would happen is that your anxiety would peak and then it would gradually reduce, and if you stayed in for quite a prolonged time, the anxiety would reduce down bit by bit, and finally if you were in for quite a long time, say an hour, your anxiety would have reduced and you would have become used to the situation. You would no longer be anxious in that situation. And we'd call that habituation, is what we would call it. So what do you think would happen if that was the pattern? You decided to go back in, having stayed in the situation, your anxiety had dropped. What do you think would happen the next time you went into that situation?
I suppose it would be less. I've never stayed in the situation that long for that to happen, but I suppose it would be. My anxiety would be less. Yeah,
exactly, it would. So it would start off here, but actually it would reduce a little bit quicker this next time. And the very next time that you went in, because you were beginning to be less anxious in that situation, it would start there and go down. So there'd be a different pattern and your anxiety would begin to drop. How does that seem to you?
It seems to make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. In order for that to happen, you need to repeat the facing of the thing you fear. So repeat the exposure very regularly, like daily. And you need to stick in the situation for quite a long time. So I would say at least an hour. And you need to be there with your anxiety at the lower levels in order for the habituation to take place. So does that make sense to you?
I think it does.
I think that it's a lot of time commitment. But this is the way that we're going to nail that anxiety.